a well-known activist, Father Cedric Prakash, who belongs to the Gujarat province of the Jesuits. He's an internationally known human rights, reconciliation, peace activist with a focus on advocacy. Father Cedric Prakash founded the Prashant, the Ahmedabad-based Jesuit Center of Human Rights for Justice and Peace in October 2001. Beginning February 2002, Gujarat was engulfed in what was commonly referred to as the Gujarat Carnage. He has been one of the many voices that has championed the cause of Muslims. For his work in advocacy, human rights, justice, and interreligious dialogue, and communal harmony and peace, he has received several national and international awards and honors. He also served in Beirut and Lebanon during the regional office of the Jesuit Refugee Service. So over to you, Father Cedric Prakash, and a warm welcome.
Good. Thank you, Dorothy. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Yes, you are.
Yeah. Okay. Varghese, you can enlarge my screen, please. Thank you. It's good to be here. Thanks to Varghese, Dorothy, Manju, and all the others of the Forum of Religious for Justice and Peace for organizing this webinar on a very, very important subject, a response as religious to gross human rights violations in the country today.
Human rights violation. How poor people are suffering.
Yes. Hello. Yes. Shanti, will you put your someone's audio off? Will you kindly mute yourself? Yeah. So my focus is the freedom of. Hello, can you hear me? Because there is somebody who is. Hello.
Requesting everyone to mute your mics.
We can hear you.
It can be heard.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, you can hear me. That's good because there is somebody coming, keeping their mic open, unmuted. Mine is on Article 19 and Article 25 of the Constitution of India, the freedom of speech and expression, and freedom of conscience to preach, practice, and propagate one's religion. I'm going to literally situate my 15-20 minutes in 5 F's, what I call the F factor, on facts, on freedom, on fears, on faith, and on fidelity. Faith in the context of religion. And since this is a forum of religious, I know there are lay people, I know there are also some non-Christian presence, but please bear with me because I'm speaking from my heart and I'm speaking from religious. Sometimes maybe I'm just singing to the choir or preaching to the so-called converted, but I need to do it in order maybe to follow up on what Mr. Lizzie and Mr. Chandan have just said in terms of what is happening to the domestic workers, what is happening to labor. You cannot talk about human rights violations today, especially we as religious, if we are not going to look at certain facts. And that is important. What are the facts? Take the example of what happened, most of August, and very especially, it is still happening. The case of Prashant Bhushan. He did a couple of tweets on talking about corruption within certain judges of the Supreme Court. He showed us the Chief Justice of India sitting on Harley Davidson, belonging to an RSS or BJP guy there in Nagpur, and he was just questioning it. He's a well-known advocate. He's an activist. He's one of our colleagues. They have been a lot together working, and suddenly, the whole world, literally, of the establishment, not of ordinary people, not of civil society, pounce on him. He is pronounced guilty, and then he's given that 1 rupee fine. Many of you would have read my article. It's a symbol of a new India, of resistance, of resilience, of wanting to change what is happening. Look at what is happening to another colleague of Harsh Mandar. He's talking about prior to the Delhi riots on love, on fraternity. We have a speech, they have it recorded, and they file a false case against him. There is the the Delhi police report that has just come on the riots in Delhi. They have not named the people who have been responsible for the violence, who have been indulging in hate speech, but in fact have named the likes of Umar Khalid, another friend of ours, okay, but 11 lakh pages of, of documentation. Yeah, here we have a government which is not able to give us the statistics on migrant workers or of unemployment in the country, but on one person, you can have 11 lakhs of pages. This is unthinkable in the history of jurisprudence in the world. What else? Suddenly, you have someone who's there going to a church in one remote corner of India, and they're attacked by the goons belonging to the Sangh Parivar. You have even people like Yogendra Yadav and Sitaram Yechuri. These are some of the top academics, politicians who have been fairly transparent in their dealing, and suddenly you have the power of this current regime, the system that is attacking them, basically saying you cannot speak like this, you cannot criticize the government. And then we have the notified media. Many of us are clapping hands. Ridiculous. I said it at another webinar. Some of you might have been present the other day. They were launching the Rafale jet, and there was someone who, some Christian, went and prayed and used. I'm saying you can pray for anything and for anyone, but this is a corrupt deal. Everybody knows. These are weapons to kill. And if we believe in Jesus, okay, Jesus does not bless systems or mechanisms that destroy human life. That will have to be clear. So the point is, some of us Christians and even religious have been clapping hands, and we have a very famous WhatsApp university that is going on, and we continue spreading all kinds of fake news. This is the reality. These are the facts. And I can go on. 15 and 20 minutes are just not enough only to deal with the facts of what is happening, where freedom of speech and expression, where freedom of conscience, where freedom to practice speech and propagate my religion is concerned. We all know that, and we all know what is happening in the country. We come to the second F, that is freedom. And we're talking about Article 19 and 25, which is there in the Constitution of India. And it's a great constitution. We have a preamble which speaks about justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. And they're speaking about a pluralistic fabric in which we are able to live together, not merely tolerate one another, but maybe to complement each other's religious beliefs and respect. And this has been happening for ages, and none of us can ever deny it. But suddenly, divisiveness has crept in, discrimination has crept in. They, first the Muslims and the Christians, are looked upon as the other. And what happens to these freedom, which has been guaranteed to us in the Constitution? What happens to the freedom that we need? Freedom for fear. The people perhaps who are most frightened today, unfortunately, in the country, are even religious, priests and nuns. And we need to ask ourselves, can we be free from this fear? There is the need for freedom from want. Look at the people who are hungry, who are starving. The government is unable to give us the latest statistics on the unemployment in the country. Yesterday, on the 17th of September, hundreds and thousands of people, without exaggeration, across the party divide, observed National Unemployment Day to show how there has been a steep rise in the unemployment rate, the growth in the country, and and this has been happening. It's been galloping, and I think this is a serious concern. Freedom from want. When are we going to have the security that we need? When are we going to have the kind of the prosperity, the Ache Din that was promised in 2014, and many of Indians started clapping hands? I come to the third F, and that is fears. What are our fears? What are we frightened about? And yeah, I'm talking to religious. Are we frightened about our land, our institutions, our FCRA, our privileges, the patronage we receive from the powerful of this country, the people who give us flowers and Christmas cakes, if they're running schools? Hello? Yeah. The people who just, as we say in Hindi, chamcha lagao us all the time. We need to ask ourselves, what are we afraid of? Are we afraid of losing these things? And then in the silence, maybe of our soul, when we do very serious questioning, when we ask, our establishment, we are religious in this group, mainly we belong to religious congregations. We ask our religious congregations, what is the vision? What is the charism of our congregation, of our founding mothers and fathers? What are we talking about? What have we got to lose? Today, any amount of people are dying all over the country because of this pandemic. Okay, and what are we protecting ourselves from? We are here today, gone tomorrow. We are not going to carry any of the privileges or the possessions or the power that we have in our world today. Nothing will go with us when we either cremated or go 6 feet down. I think we need to do some serious introspection, some serious questioning. What are we safeguarding? Where is our security? And then we come to the next step, that is faith. Jesus tells us, fear no one, very especially those who can harm your body, those who can take things away from you. He has condemned the Pharisees, the scribes, the Herods and Pilates of his time. And the point is, we are saying prayers. We are saying our daily office. We are singing the Magnificat as many of us as religious, day in and day out, without perhaps accepting that the Magnificat is a prayer of protest, is a prayer of change, of putting down the powerful from the thrones and exalting the lowly of heart. I think we need to be asking ourselves, what is faith? Are we there in the boat? Do we have faith in him? Or is our faith cosmetic? Is it shallow? I don't want to sound judgmental. Maybe I'm sounding. I am using the questions for myself. Am I willing to stick my neck out like a turtle, like a tortoise? When I stick my neck out, it's easy to get it chopped. But only then I will be able to progress. We need to be visible. We need to be vocal in what we are standing for. My dear sisters and brothers present at this webinar, and I see a house full webinar under the limit, I know, and I'm sure there are some on YouTube too. My final F is fidelity. It is different from faith. Faith, I use it in a very religious connotation. Faith, in terms of the faith justice mandate that we in the Society of Jesus have, in terms of our General Congregation 32, but faith is very, very clearly in terms of that that visionary faith given to us by our Lord and Master Jesus. Fidelity is slightly different, and very often people use both as synonyms. I'm not using it as a synonym, I'm using it as something very different. Fidelity to our charism. We are religious sisters, and during this pandemic, many of us have gone out and helped the migrant workers, helped the sick at a lot of risk. But one thing is social work, which is good, which everyone is doing. Another thing is taking a stand for truth and justice. And that's where freedom of speech and expression counts. Everybody claps hands when good religious and Christians do a lot of social work. But when the likes of Helder Camara, of for that matter Oscar Romero, started looking at the system and questioning the system. Why are people dying? Why? Here in Ahmedabad, we have any amount of people dying of COVID-19, even till today. We don't have the basic infrastructure in our civil hospitals to cater for the sick, to cater to those who need the ICU. You know, there is a connection between the ruling regime and those who are manufacturing the ventilators. The important thing is what is going to. It is not about we caring for them. We must care for them. I say this in no uncertain terms. But can we look at systems which are endemic, where the poor people have no access, maybe to a system? We have a lot of private hospitals who first want your money, and they will not even release a corpse, unless you have paid all your dues of 5 to 7 lakhs. So our fidelity is to the reality, to the signs of the times. What is happening? What have our founders done? We have had very charismatic founders, very visionary founders who walked the talk. Over the years, we have become very institutionalized and we have got into our comfort zones. Freedom of speech and expression, freedom to preach, practice, and propagate our religion, freedom of conscience, my dear sisters and brothers, is to be visible and to be vocal, to stand up for truth and justice, to be articulate. The rot that is happening in our country today, and maybe it's not easy. We will lose a lot. Our own brothers and sisters from our own congregations, our own communities will reject us. Didn't they say long ago, isn't he the carpenter's son? What good can come out of Nazareth? Okay, physician, heal yourself. We forget all that. We need a fidelity to the Constitution. We need a fidelity to the future of the country. We need, above all, a fidelity to the people. Which people? We in the Society of Jesus have given ourselves 4 important universal apostolic preferences. And now there is so much happening regarding the environment. This regime, in nexus with the corporate sector, is destroying the environment. From the Aravalli Range begins in Gujarat, the Western Ghats in the northeast of India, the environment is being destroyed. We are clapping our hands, even us as Jesuits, and say, yes, we need to grow trees. We need to have solar alternative energy. That is good. We need to reduce. We need to not use plastic. But Laudato Si, they are celebrating this year, is about much more. Is to be able to address, like what Greta Thunberg is doing in Sweden and other parts of the world. And today is a Friday. Fridays for our future. Friday first. It's a whole international campaign. How visible and vocal are we against those who are destroying the environment? Whether it's the government, whether the corporate sector who might be patronizing our institutions. I think that is a question we need to ask ourselves. Freedom of speech and expression, freedom of conscience, freedom to preach, practice, and propagate my religion, which is in Article 19 and 25 of our Constitution, and Article 18 and 25 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, comes as comes at a price. Are we willing to pay the price? Are we willing, as religious gathered here at this webinar, our communities, our congregations, are we willing to play a prophetic role? Are we willing to get out of our comfort zones? The question is not mine to answer, my dear sisters and brothers. It's for each one of us, not merely to answer, but to live it. Until that time, let us pray with Tagore into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Thank you very much for giving me this privilege and opportunity to speak to you all.
Thank you very much, Cedric, for that very good presentation, the 5 Fs, and inviting us to move out of our comfort zones and looking at the difference between fidelity and faith and fidelity to what. Thank you very much.